Hello everyone. Let us concentrate to the part 2 of chapter Anatomy of Flowering Plant, that is chapter 6. In this, we have to study permanent tissue, that is 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼, and then we have to see 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼, and then we have to see complex tissue, what we mean by, and you know that is xylem and phloem, these are the complex tissue. In this part, we'll discuss the detail of xylem. We were discussing in part 1 simple tissue and parenchyma already we have done. We have to see now the second one, that is 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼. 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼, what are the characteristics? On the cell wall in corners of intercellular space, the cell wall has high amount of cellulose, pectin and hemicellulose, but the lignin is absent. These are the cells we have here, and these are the corners. The corners unevenly will be thickened, and thickening will be because of cellulose, pectin and hemicellulose. Remember, the lignin is not present in 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼. These are living cells. These are found below the hypodermis. You know hypodermis, this is the epidermis in stem or petiole, that is below the epidermis. This tissue is known as hypodermis. The hypodermis is usually 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼 in dicot stem. This is a very important point. 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼 is absent in root and in monocot stem. You have to remember, has come many times in the examination. They assimilate food when they have chloroplast. Intercellular spaces are absent. Why? Because in intercellular spaces, that is thickening is there, and because of this thickening is uneven thickening. You can see here, these are the thickenings here. These are the vacuoles, this is the nucleus, this is the thickened corners are there, and protoplasm and cell wall is there. In growing part, 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼 will provide mechanical support. Living cells will provide mechanical support, flexibility and resistance against bending and pulling action of wind. This is 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝔼. Okay. Come to the next now, that is, we have to see 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼. These are characterized by a thick secondary wall and due to deposition of that is lignin. See children, let this is the cell, this is the that is primary cell wall. Below the primary cell wall, the secondary cell wall will be deposited here, and this secondary cell wall, it is usually of lignin. Then this tissue will become 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼. Because lignin has been deposited, cell wall has become thick. That's why at maturity they will be dead, right? They have simple pits are there, small pores are there, through which these are connected with the other cells, and these cells are of two types. 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼 is of two types. One is 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼 fiber. As the name indicate, these are long, that is elongated cells like this. The tapering ends are there, and the cell wall is very, very thick. Very small lumen is left. The cavity is very small. Lumen is very small because the cell wall is very thick here. Human cell wall is lignified. Fully developed fiber, definitely it will be, that is dead one. The fibers are present in hypodermis of a monocot stem. You can remember, this is monocot stem. This one is, that is epidermis. Below epidermis, this is the tissue, that is hypodermis made up of 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼. You can remember, in monocot stem, this is 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼, while in dicot stem it was, can you recall, that was 𝕐𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼. It is found in pericycle of many dicots, in secondary wood, in vascular bundle sheath, in monocot stem. That is where these are present. Main function, because the cell wall is very thick, you can recall, main function is to provide mechanical strength because the cell wall is very thick, and this one is, that is lignified. Is it? Commercial fiber, very important one. Commercial fiber which are obtained from the plant like jute, flax, hemp, sun hemp, and these are usually 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼 fiber. And you have to remember that these commercial fiber are usually present in phloem. Phloem fibers are commercial fibers. These are, okay. Am I clear? Fiber, 𝕆𝕋𝕍𝔼𝔼 fiber. These commercial fiber are also known as bast fiber because these are obtained from phloem. These are non-xylem fiber. These are But you see some other important point. Coir of coconut, this is the fiber of mesocarp of coconut. You know mesocarp, that is if you cut a coconut here, this is the outermost layer, which is that is epicarp. Then here in the center we have the hard shell, that is endocarp, and here this is the fibrous one. In case of these are also true fiber because these are lignified one. You have to remember cotton fiber, these are unicellular epidermal hair of seed coat, that this is the seed of cotton, that is these are the outgrowth from the outer layer of the seed, and these are made up of cellulose. Remember, cotton fiber are not, that is lignin fiber. Jute is the longest commercial fiber, and tamarix, that is 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝕆 plant, the fibers are living one because the lumen is left and the cytoplasm is there in that. Is it right? Come to the second type of 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝕆, that is scleroids. What we have in scleroids, come to the point. These are dead. Fiber was a long one. These are dead spherical, oval or cylindrical cells, that is highly thickened cell wall with very narrow cavity. You can see that this is one cell. Either this will be single cell or there may be, that is group of such cells. Here the cell wall is very thick. This is the small lumen is left. Cell wall is very thick, and having the pits are there. These are the pits. These are the pits. That is scleroids may occur singly or in group, and these are present in pulp of fruit like guava, pear or sapota, that is chiku. You know, when we eat these fruits, the grittiness is there, that these cells will provide, that is support to the pulp. Otherwise, that is pulp will become very soft one. At maturity, that they will be dissolved. Fruit wall of nuts, walnut and almond, seed coat of legume. You know, in pressure cooker we have to boil legumes for a long time because the seed coat is having, that is stone cells, and the leaves of tea. You have to remember. Should we proceed to the next now? Okay. So that was about, that is permanent tissue. We have to see now complex permanent tissue. What I told you in the beginning, the tissue which are made up of more than one type of cell. More than one type of cells are there, and all these together, that they make one unit. And the example of the complex tissue are also known as vascular tissue. And vascular tissue, we know one is xylem, one is phloem. These are made up of, very important one, complex tissue may have living cells as well as they may have non-living cells. Group of living and non-living cells. Complex tissue that acts as single unit, either this is xylem or phloem, and also known as vascular tissue. Two types I told you, xylem and phloem. Okay, come to the next now. We have to discuss one by one. That is xylem, also known as wood, layman language, or headroom. You know what the function of xylem? You know, if we draw that this is that is plant axis, this is the root we have here. The root will absorb the water and minerals, and through xylem, you know, that is this water and minerals will be transported from root to the aerial part. So this is conducting tissue for water and minerals from root to the aerial part of the plant. It also provides mechanical strength because in xylem, that is, it is made up of 4 elements you have to see. That is, 3 elements are non-living and lignified. That's why it will provide mechanical support. Okay, that is on the basis of origin. Xylem tissue can be primary, which is present since beginning. That is, since beginning this is present since beginning, and secondary xylem that will be developed at the time of, that is secondary growth. It will develop, that is later on. Is it right? It will develop later on. Come to the next now. What do you mean by primary xylem? As I told you, it is derived from procambium. During primary growth of the plant, it is differentiated. Important one is protoxylem and metaxylem. Very important term these are. They will be used to identify, to differentiate, that is stem and root. Protoxylem, metaxylem. Protoxylem is the first formed one, and the metaxylem will be formed later on. Cells of the metaxylem are bigger in size than protoxylem. I can tell you in that way. That this is the xylem one. So here, that is this xylem is, that is called as, it is called protoxylem. Here the vessels These are of narrow diameter that will be formed, that is early in stage. This is the metaxylem. Here the diameter of the xylem vessel is larger, that is known as metaxylem. It develops, that is later on. So xylem, protoxylem and metaxylem. Important term we have, what mean by endarch and exarch, you see, very important one. Suppose this is the transverse section we have, and here in this case, you see, you can make diagrammatically like this. That is, here you see, this one is, that is protoxylem, and this one is, that one is metaxylem. What are you seeing here? Protoxylem is towards center. Protoxylem is towards center, and this is known as endarch. Protoxylem is towards the center or pith, metaxylem is towards the periphery. And remember, this type of situation is found in case of stem. Very important point. Either this is dicot stem or this is monocot stem. It is having endarched xylem. Other side, exarch, what we mean by? In exarch, you see, that is here. That is, it will be like this. The xylem will be like this. What are you seeing here? That is, this is the protoxylem and this one is the metaxylem. Metaxylem is towards center and protoxylem is towards periphery. And this type of things are found in case of root. Either this is dicot root or this one is, that is monocot root. So very important term, endarch xylem, and that is exarch xylem. Secondary xylem will be formed, as I told you, as a result of secondary growth. Okay. Now come to the next, that is elements of xylem. Xylem is made up of, important question this is, you have to see. As I told you, xylem provide mechanical support. So xylem is made up of 4 different type of, that is elements. In this there will be living as well as non-living one. Tracheids, vessels and xylem fiber, all these are non-living one, and because of this there is, that is mechanical support, that gives mechanical support, because all these are, that is lignified. These are lignified. Is it right? Xylem parenchyma is the only one which is, that is living one. You see children, detail of this first. Let this is tracheid. You are seeing, I can make it. Let this is tracheid is a single cell. This is single cell. Both ends are, that is tapered. And here it has, the lumen is there. Lumen is there. But the cell wall is also thick. It's not like fiber. In fiber, the lumen was less. This is the, that is thick wall. And in thick wall, we have the pits are there. If we see, that is as a whole without section, this internal structure, then these are the pits, that is in tracheid. And the tracheids, these are found attached one to other like this. This is one tracheid, that this is the other tracheid one. These are the tapered end. This is tracheid. What is there in tracheid is a single cell. Remember, it is a single cell, and the end of this cross wall is not dissolved. These are the example of xylem vessels. Vessels, you see how the vessels will be formed. The vessels, this is one cell, this is the other cell, this is the third one. So then 1, 2, 3 and so on, the cells are placed one above the other. And these cells, that is their cell wall become, that is very thick, and in time to come, these cells will become dead. There this cross wall will also dissolve, and therefore they will become a tubular structure. They will become tubular structure, and this is the lumen here. They will die, and the water and minerals will be transported through this lumen. So this is the xylem. As usual, that is the xylem vessels. They also have pit. That's why all these are interconnected one. To give extra support, these tracheids and vessels, some extra thickening is there, which may be either in the form of, that is annular rings like this, or that may be in the form that is spiral one, or it may be that is reticulate one like this. So these are the specific thickenings are there just to give extra support to tracheids and, that is vessels. Now we have to see detail of this. Tracheids, as I told you now, come to the tracheids. What we have in tracheids common, that is a single tracheid is highly elongated, tube-like. This is single cell with hard, thick and lignified cell wall. The cavity is there because in this cavity also the water and minerals will be transported. This is primitive type of conducting vessel, The secondary cell wall possesses various types of thickenings, as I told you. That may be annular, spiral, ladder-like, reticulator, that may be petit one. The main function of the tracheids, that is to transport of water and minerals from root to the stem. They also provide mechanical support. Why? Because these are also having thick lignified wall. And very important one, tracheids in pteridophyte and gymnosperm, that is mainly consist of tracheids. Therefore, in pteridophyte and gymnosperm, as the vessels are absent, the water and minerals will be transported only through tracheids because the vessels are absent. Is it clear? Come to the next now. That is vessel, as I told you in diagram also. This is a long cylindrical tube-like structure made up of many dead cells. Do you remember? I can make it once more. This is one cell, this is other cell, this is the other cell, and these cells will become dead, and that is tubular structure. The cell wall is thick, but even then that is a lumen is left through which water and minerals will be transported. Vessels are found in angiosperm only. Important characteristics of angiosperms you have to remember, but few exceptions are there in angiosperm also where the vessels are absent. Sometimes that may come in examination. 3 families we have. One is Vinteracea, one is Tetracentraceae, and one is Trochodendrocea. In these family, that is angiospermic these are, but they do not have vessels. As I told you, pteridophyte and gymnosperm, the vessels are absent. Non-porous wood this is, but the vessels are present in some, that is gymnosperms, which are of higher orders. Neetales is the order of that is gymnosperm. These are close to gymnosperm, close to angiosperm, and some of the example of order Neetales, that is Neetum and Aphidra, they have primitive type of vessels. So thus vessels are present in few gymnosperms like Neetales, and most of the angiosperm they have vessels. Characteristics of that is angiosperm. In angiosperm, most efficient mode of transport of water and minerals, I told you, they also give mechanical support. In plant, mechanical support is given by that is xylem, because 3 elements of the xylem are non-living one. Come to the next now. Xylem parenchyma. This is xylem parenchyma is living tissue, that is living tissue, thin-walled, made up of cellulose only. The main function is to store the food in the form of either starch, fat, or other substances like tannins, and they also help in radial conduction of water. That is in section. In time to come, I'll tell you what I mean by radial conduction. Radial conduction means, you see, that this is the stem. The xylem is, that is, this is cylindrical portion. If the water is to be conducted from xylem to the periphery, this will be known as, that is, radial conduction. Here we have that is xylem, that is parenchyma. Is it? The fourth one is xylem fiber. As I told you, that is clarenchymatous fiber. These fibers, these are long tapered structures, and these are the dead one. And these xylem, they will provide, that is mechanical support. These provide, that is mechanical support. They will provide mechanical support to the tissue. Mechanical, that is support. Is it right? That is xylem parenchyma we have discussed right now. That was xylem fiber. Then this xylem vessels, xylem tracheids, all these things we have discussed. Now we have to go for, that is, because this is an important, interesting chapter, we have to, that is some important points we have to revise here. This is collenchyma, important questions I told you. That is the cell wall, these are living one. The corners, they have become thickened. The thickening is not because of lignin. It is because of cellulose, pectin and hemicellulose. Important point you have to remember. These are found just below the epidermis, that is hypodermis. In case of dicot stem, hypodermis is collenchymatous. This is dicot stem. This one is, that is epidermis, and this one is hypodermis. This is the section of, that is, this is vacuole. The corners are thickened, and because of deposition of cellulose, pectin and hemicellulose, right? They can assimilate food also. When the chloroplast is there, they will become green. Intercellular species are absent. They provide, make a very important point, they provide mechanical support to the living tissue, to the growing part. These are flexibility and resist bending and pulling action of wind. Is it right? 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼, come on. That is, these are thick secondary cell wall. Deposition of lignin you have to remember. These are the dead one. They have simple pits. Two types. One is 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼 fiber. Can you repeat? That these fibers are, these are the tapered ends, pointed ends. These ends are, that is pointed one. The lumen is less and the cell wall is, that is, this is a thick cell wall. Is it right? That fibers, these are present in hypodermis of monocotyl stem. You have to remember, monocotyl stem, they have, this is the epidermis, this is the hypodermis made up of 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼, and that is pericycle. You know, in time to come you have to remember, you have to, that is learn, pericycle. And in secondary wood and in vascular bundle sheath, you know, vascular bundle made up of xylem and phloem, these are also surrounded by vascular bundle sheath. These are also having 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼. The main function is mechanical strength. Commercial fibers which are obtained, that is used commercially, these are obtained from jute, flax, hemp, sun hemp, and these are 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼 fiber, and usually these are obtained from phloem. These are not from xylem. Okay, this is diagram I told you. That is, this is the tapered end, and you can recall it. These are the, that is, these are the tapered end, pointed end. These are, and the lumen is there. These are the pits are there because through pits they will be connected to the other nearby cells. This is a fiber. Jute is the longest fiber. In cotton fiber, important one, cotton fiber lignin is absent. That is, it is made up of cellulose. And this is the seed, that is outer, that is epidermal cells of the seeds. They will get elongated like this and they will become cotton fiber. Is it? Scleroids, I told you, grittiness in some of the fruits like guava, like pear, like sapota, chiku, that is grittiness is there. It is because of stone cells. Stone cells may be in single or maybe in group. These are the dead one, and they have the pits. That is, this is small lumen is left, is it? And the pits are there, thick cell wall, that is having, that is lignin deposition. Is it right? In the same way, in nuts like walnut, almond, and in case of that is seeds, coat of legumes, and the tea leaves, these are having the cells, that is scleroids. Okay, come to the next now. Yes, complex tissue. What do you mean by, can you repeat? Made up of more than one type of cells. They work together as unit. Complex tissue made up of living as well as non-living cells, important one. Complex tissue act as unit. Vascular tissue, that is xylem and phloem, are example of complex permanent tissue. These are xylem, 𝕆𝕋𝔼𝔼. The function of xylem you can see, that is, this is the aerial part of the plant. This is the root. This is the xylem. That is, through xylem, the water and that is minerals will be transported from root to the aerial part of the plant. The xylem may be of two types based on origin, may be primary, may be secondary xylem. Primary is present since beginning. It is found in between the vascular bundles. With the vascular bundles, the xylem is present, that is primary xylem. Secondary xylem will be formed at the time of secondary growth, that is formed later on at the time of that is secondary growth.